And in spite of Brian Somerville, I think if you just stand there naturally and talk, that microphone will pick you up. So, it'll be...
Yes. Thank you. My name's Alexis. I'm currently a junior at Brockport, and this is my third year going on these mission trips. And I just wanted to share with you a story that we were all told by Miss Rita and her daughter when we were at Cornerstone Church. It's really powerful, and I just wanted to share this with you. This is my reaccount of her story. So Miss Rita lives alone. She uses a walker, and so she was by herself when the storm hit, and she went to bed that night and had a flashlight with her so she could see, and she fell asleep in her bed with the flashlight on, and her neighbors across the street, they were getting ready to evacuate, and they were piling all their stuff into their car, and the man told his wife, okay, we're all set. Miss Rita should probably evacuated already because her car wasn't there. Her family used her car like a week before and she didn't have it, so they thought she wasn't in the house. And the wife goes, okay, like I think you're right. Let's just keep gathering our stuff. But she just knew something wasn't right. She didn't see Miss Rita leave, so they kept getting their stuff together, and the wife told her husband, I think I saw something, like I know I saw something over there, like we should just go check. So they ended up at the end, when they're all packed up, they went and checked, and they saw Miss Rita was still there. And I think the only reason that the woman knew was because she saw her little flashlight, the little beam, and it was just very powerful to hear that I think God in a way was there with the woman, trying to get her to go over there and get Miss Rita. So they ended up evacuating with all of their dogs and their exotic birds, I'm remembering right, and a bunch of different things. So I think it was just good to hear that she was telling us her story, her daughter was, and I think it helped her in a way to hear it out loud again. I think it's part of their healing process to share their story, even though it was traumatic. So I just want to share it with all of you. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Alexis. That house, Miss Rita, was a house that a number of us worked on, including Alexis, and we put a new roof on Miss Rita's house, and that house ended up with about 4 feet of water in it. And when Miss Rita's daughter was recounting that, it wasn't at all clear that Miss Rita would have survived had she not been evacuated by her neighbors. So they were incredibly grateful because it was days before rescuers could get back into that neighborhood. So a powerful story. Thanks, Alexis. Another member of our team, Jason Somerville, and Jason's agreed to provide a little reflection. Jason?
Thank you. There were 20 of us that went on the mission trip to New Bern, North Carolina, where we met up with 13 members from Auburn, Alabama, which is the same crew that we worked with last year. We were split into groups where we were working on 4 different projects. The project that I was working on for the week was Miss Rita's house. We had a bunch of tasks, from putting a new roof on to rebuilding a bathroom floor. Drywalling and lifting plywood gave me my physical workout for the week since I wasn't able to be at the gym. Being on my second mission trip, being able to help less fortunate people is one of the most important things to me. This is one of the reasons why I would do these mission trips on a yearly basis. The young adults, with their energy, made each day fun on the trip. One of the events on the trip that was nice to experience was the christening of Miss Norrie's home. One event that we did as a group that I enjoyed was karaoke night at Blackbeard's Bar. I would recommend going on these mission trips to you folks. Thank you.
One of the highlights of karaoke night was Tyler Mecklenburg. Tyler has been a part of our congregation for a number of years. He was a student at Fredonia. He's been a section leader in our choir, and as well as a great worker and a great companion on the trip. And so, Tyler, please. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Tyler. I'm 23. This was my first ever mission trip that I've ever been on. So the house that I worked on was also Miss Rita's house on Oakland Avenue. And the very first day that we got there, it was pretty dismal looking. Like there was just garbage everywhere, and if you took a step off of the driveway onto the grass, you'd more than likely step on a couple pieces of broken glass. Like, just when the water left, everything was just left all over the ground, and it was like a disaster. So, what I did the most was I was up on the roof, and on the first day, we tore the roof off of about half of it. And we worked from 8 in the morning until like 5:30 at night, and I think everybody was feeling pretty good about themselves. Like, we were working hard, we were sweating, the sun was shining. It was a nice break from, the Buffalo winter. But we left around 5:30, and we took a drive around the neighborhood, and it was just a very sobering experience because, like, it was a complete wreck. Like, there was garbage and old tractors everywhere and boats and trees, and there were probably maybe 3 inhabited houses on the entire street out of maybe 30 or 40. And it just really made me feel like I was making a difference, but there's still going to be millions and millions of man hours needed in order for the place to look like it was before the hurricane. And there were 8 hurricanes last year, and I think 2 major ones, including the one that hit North Carolina. But it just goes to show that there's always going to be people that need help. So if you're ever feeling inclined, they're not too hard to find. Thank you.
Tyler mentioned that first day we were on the roof, the temperatures, I think it got up to 72 on Tuesday. By Friday, it was 27 degrees in North Carolina. So finishing that roof was a little more challenging than starting it, but we did complete it. And finally, I want to invite Jim Barry up. Jim is a veteran member here, as well as has been a participant on these particular mission trips the last couple of years. Jim?
Yes, hello. So this was my 3rd trip, and in some ways I have to say it was the hardest. And see, I'm this type of guy that uses my experience and my knowledge to plan and prepare, and come to find out that just doesn't work in these trips. So, you have to have a little bit of a leap of faith. I happen to be working on Miss Rita's house too, so I find it interesting, and it will tie in well with what the others have said. I actually got the list. This is what we got for direction on what needs to be done at Miss Rita's house. So, an address, totally foreign to me, 2818 Oakland Ave, New Bern, North Carolina. I have no idea where I'm going, but thanks to GPS. And that I would need 15 volunteers to take care of this project. So the list goes like this. Remove the old shingles, install new shingles, remove and save the shower, remove the bathroom floor and replace, install another layer of 5/8 to bring the master bedroom to the same level as the rest of the home, repair all termite damage, which is just a wild card, install insulation once the electrician finishes and it is inspected, install sheetrock after installation is after the installation inspection, remove sheetrock from kitchen ceiling, remove all sheet marked with an X, which was like tic-tac-toe, install cabinet blocking, build wheelchair ramp. So we got this about 9 o'clock on Sunday night after a 12-hour ride down, and it's a little overwhelming. So back to that leap of faith. Long story short, you do what you can with what you have, and in the end, it turns out better than expected.
So you do what you can with what you have, and it turns out better than expected. You know, that passage in 1 Corinthians where Paul talks about, you know, the body has all these different parts, and you need all the parts because, you know, if everybody was an eye, you know, you wouldn't have any hands to do anything. And if everybody was a hand, you wouldn't be able to see, to know what to do. And I think the truth of that passage becomes clear in an experience like this, where everybody's got gifts and skills that they bring, and it takes everybody together to accomplish what needs to be done. And we saw that happen. You know, one of the first slides on that presentation that Anna put together was the Noose Forest Presbyterian Church. I don't know if you saw that. It's actually right around the corner from the church that we stayed at, which is kind of a large, non-denominational church, a really vibrant, growing concern, who decided to house groups after this natural disaster to rebuild the community. That Presbyterian church around the corner was once an alive, vibrant congregation back in the 50s and 60s, but over the years it has declined. And we came to find out that over the years they've dwindled to about 15 members. And last spring and over the summer they were talking about closing that church. And they had had discussions about that and what they would do and whether they should stay open or you know, whether they had any purpose yet in their community. After the hurricane, that congregation, that church, sustained very little damage. And they recognized that out the back they had this huge education wing that hadn't been used for about 10 years because they didn't have any kids there. And somebody brought a vision to them that they could repurpose that education wing. And so they were in the process of creating a volunteer village that education wing will now hold. And that congregation has a new purpose and new life. I think it's a great metaphor, not only for New Bern, but for all of us, to look at what we have, how we've been gifted, what we can do, and to put those gifts to use for the greater good. It was a great opportunity that was afforded the 21 that came from Orchard Park, and it was supported by our mission ministry team that made it possible for all of our young adults to go and covered the expense for them. And so our thanks to the congregation for supporting with dollars the ministry of our church, and our mission ministry team for the vision they have for reaching out to the world. It's a humbling experience to be in the presence of people who have nothing, whose lives have been turned upside down. Was mentioned about the house dedication, which that's the first one I've ever been a part of through these rebuilding efforts, but a home that was owned by a woman named Miss Norrie. And there were some of the folks here worked on her home, but they put it back together, and a tree had fallen on it, water had gotten in, had ruined the cabinets and the floor, and so that had all been completed. Miss Norrie was a 79-year-old widow of an ex-Marine, and Miss Norrie had been born in Japan and came to the United States in her 30s. And after the dedication ceremony, we had some prayers and actually celebrated communion together. Miss Norrie asked for a moment, and the woman who was leading the dedication said, Miss Norrie has something that she wants to offer all of you. And she brought out a little cassette player and a cassette with a traditional Japanese dance that she had been taught as a young girl by her mother in Japan. And in front of about 50 or 60 of us gathered there, Miss Norrie performed this traditional Japanese dance because that's what she had to give to us. And I'm telling you, it's something I'll never forget. We all have something to give. We all have something that we can provide and that will demonstrate to others the gifts that we've been given. Thanks be to God for those opportunities, and might we all seek them out in the living of our lives.